So silver just hit $50 an ounce for the first time ever, and you won't believe the XRP revelation that I had at 3 a.m. after seeing that headline. Now, I nearly dropped my phone when I read the news. Silver broke past $50. Silver. It's an all-time high for the metal, and my brain immediately jumped to XRP. You might be thinking, why? Well, it's because a lot of us call XRP digital silver. So I started asking myself, if actual silver can hit a record like this, can XRP pull off something crazy too? Now, by the end of this video, we'll explore that wild question together, right? I'm talking eye-opening math, a dash of crypto history, and a surprising discovery that I made along the way. Spoiler, it involves me buying at least into a whole new project to test out some passive income. But more on that later. So yeah, buckle up. This isn't just another price talk. It's a personal adventure through one of the craziest thought experiments that I've had about XRP. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around for the twist at the end. So it all started with that one headline. Silver hits record $50. Can XRP follow suit? Pretty catchy, right? Well, as an XRP holder, the phrase kind of digital silver echoed in my mind. I was like, wait a second, silver just did something pretty huge. Does that mean that XRP could be next? So my curiosity was officially off to the races. First, I looked at what actually kind of sent silver flying, and it turns out that a whole bunch of real-world events lined up pretty perfectly. There was a ceasefire agreement in the Middle East, specifically between Israel and Hamas, which eased a whole lot of global tensions. On top of that, the financial bigwigs started whispering about the US Federal Reserve possibly cutting the interest rates again soon. Right? Put those together and you end up with a recipe for investors flocking to safe haven assets. And did they flock, right? Gold, silver, you name it. Investors piled on in and boom, silver's price per ounce shot up past $50 for the first time in history. And yes, history, right? Even in the wild kind of Hunt Brothers spike of the 1980s or the 2011 run, silver never quite broke above the big 50. So hitting about $50.72 now is a pretty big deal. Silver's total market value is around $2.85 trillion at that price. That actually means that all of the silver in the world is worth more than all of the Bitcoin in circulation at the moment. So just let that sink in. An old school precious metal just outshined digital gold in market cap. So here I am, lying in bed, I guess, at 3 a.m, digesting all of this news. And naturally, my crypto-obsessed brain goes, what about XRP? You see, in crypto circles, Bitcoin has always been digital gold, and some in the XRP community like to say that XRP is the digital silver to Bitcoin's gold. Now, it's kind of a bit of a running analogy, right? In fact, I remember an old tweet from way back when someone pointed out that XRP's chart looks eerily similar to silver's price action in 2005, right before the metal's kind of parabolic run. Spooky comparison or coincidence? Either way, that idea kind of stuck with me. Now, XRP's price, as I speak, is around $2.80. It's been hovering under the stubborn $3 ceiling for a little while, almost like it's allergic to crossing $3. Now, for context, earlier this year, XRP did pop over $3 briefly, after Ripple scored some pretty big legal wins. So if you were on crypto Twitter that day, you knew that the euphoria was pretty crazy, and you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, back in July of 2025, XRP hit a market cap of around about $216 billion, with the price of around $3.66 at the highest point. Now that was pretty huge for us XRP holders. I was grinning a bit like an idiot that week, right? But since then, it has cooled off. In fact, right now, XRP's market cap is roughly around $169 billion. So we're down about 22% from that peak of just a few months ago, and we're chilling below that psychological $3 mark again. But with silver making some headlines, I started daydreaming. What if XRP had silver's market cap? Silver's at roughly 2.85 trillion, remember? So I grabbed my calculator. Okay, fine. I opened up the calculator app. I was not about to actually do trillion-dollar math in my head in the middle of the night. Anyway, the numbers that I saw kind of blew my mind here. Right? If XRP somehow kind of grew to a $2.85 trillion valuation, given roughly 60 billion tokens in circulation, then we would be looking at around about 47.5 or $47.50 per XRP, right? I had to double take because $47.50 per coin is pretty nice. That's around 16 to 17 times higher than the current price. Basically, it's a 1,585% rally from where we are right now. So my jaw literally dropped. I mean, I always kind of joked about retiring if XRP moons, but seeing that figure actually made it almost feel a little bit real for a second. Now, before we all go and quit our day jobs and start kind of pricing up some yachts, let's do a really bit of a reality check this scenario real quick, because this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies, they are highly volatile and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Seriously, I know that disclaimer was a bit of a mouthful, but it is actually rather important, because $47 per XRP is a pretty massive number. Ambitious might even be a bit of an understatement. But for XRP to reach that kind of same market cap as silver has right now, then the entire crypto market would have to explode in size. I'm talking a seismic shift in global finance. So picture this, right? If XRP hit that $2.85 trillion mark, Bitcoin would also likely have to balloon by tens of trillions of dollars in value. Some analysts estimate that Bitcoin might need to go near $38 trillion in that scenario. Now that's a unfathomable large kind of market cap, right? Like everyone and their mother uses crypto kind of large. So yeah, $47 XRP is a bit of a moonshot of moonshots. Is it possible in theory? Yes, maybe. Likely anytime soon? Well, I wouldn't be betting my life savings on it just yet, but I'm going to pause right here and give you a reason why. You see, a lot of people will take a look at the market cap and they think that it's just impossible. There's just not that much money that can flow in, right? But we've been through this many times on this channel. Market cap is a bit of a myth when it comes to cryptocurrencies. And actually, it's quite relatable to things like gold and silver and metals, right? Because the supply and the demand is really all that matters. Market cap is just a byproduct of your price, and your price is dictated by the supply and the demand metrics, right? So we have to consider a few different things, a few different variables that actually decide the price, and the price decides the market cap. So we can't be looking at a market cap and think that's going to stop us from actually achieving the price, because the price dictates the market cap, right? You can see how it becomes a bit of a circular calculation if you have a market cap that is a barrier to price, but the price controls the market cap, right? It doesn't really work. This isn't the same as a stock market. A stock market, you have a centralized board, right? And their reports, their financials, the direction, the strategies, all of those things determine how the investors behave, right? How the demand and the supply potentially kind of get altered. But in the world of cryptocurrency, you have tokenomics. Your tokens, the number of tokens that are either circulating or being distributed if they're full minted, but on a distribution, or whether or not they're proof of work and new issuance is happening every single day, for example, right? You have to understand the supply side of a cryptocurrency. In the case of XRP, we have a pretty large supply, but we also have not much of it actually available for purchase. And that's another thing that a lot of people misunderstand. We've been through this a few times on the channel, specifically with how Coinbase's reserves of XRP dropped from 970 million XRP coins, tokens on the exchange down to just 16 million. Yes, you heard that right. 970 million XRP down to 16 million XRP. So there's now a significantly diminished or a less supply on Coinbase, right? But it's the same with other exchanges too. So there's less supply available for purchase. Now, if the demand, new retail investors or institutional investors, or even, the ETFs get approved, we start to see an influx of capital there. That capital has to buy XRP from exchanges. And, well, there isn't really a lot available. So what you tend to find is that the price has to go higher in order to find or encourage people to sell their tokens, right? Because you can't have one without the other. And this is the thing. It doesn't take trillions of actual cash to flow in order to actually move the price. It's been documented time and time again that there is a multiplier effect. $1 going in, if $1 of actual money flows into XRP, can represent up to, and I say use the up to area, $500 of market cap. That's a 500x multiplier. Now, it does vary. Sometimes it's 200, sometimes it's 100, sometimes it's 300, right? It depends on the dynamics of how much supply there is on those order books when those dollars start flowing in. The point that I'm making here is that the market cap is determined by the last traded price. I bought a lot of my XRP down at 11 cents and even at 17 cents during 2020. Right now, I haven't really bought much more since 2022, right? Which means that I am in profit right now, but I didn't add, lots of additional dollars, right? I paid 11 cents or 10 cents, let's say, for XRP, but now it's worth $2.80, right? What's the difference, right? $2.70. Now that's money is theoretical. It's not real. It's not there. It's not made. It's only ever transferred. So if I were to sell one of my 10 cents XRP to someone else, right, for $2.80, then essentially I've made $2.70, right? But I haven't really made it. It's just been transferred from person B to myself, right? So we have to understand that money is only ever moved around. It's only ever transferred. It's never made, right? It's a sum zero game, which means that you buy in coins lower and you're anticipating selling them to someone else higher, right? And understanding how the market cap works helps you understand the market dynamics better, understanding the supply, the demand side. And when you understand those things, you can understand that you don't need trillions of dollars of fresh money flowing in. You actually only need a few $100 billion. And that is a very easy thing to do in comparison to trillions. So I had to pause the video here just to clear that up, because it's a big misconception. A lot of people misunderstand the market cap and they draw the wrong conclusions. Market cap is no barrier to price discovery. It is a byproduct of price discovery. Okay, let's get back to the fun and thrilling side of this, because it's all good to imagine this stuff. And we, as XRP holders, have heard some pretty crazy targets over the years, right? I've seen people that I respect in the community say $100 or even $500 for XRP in the future. There are those wild YouTube videos as well, titled $1,000 XRP, which is inevitable. Now, trust me, right? I've watched a few of those at 2 a.m. when I can't sleep, right? And after hearing $100 or $1,000 predictions, the $47 prediction doesn't sound that unrealistic, right? In fact, it just feels like a few weeks ago, a well-known XRP enthusiast was suggesting XRP could blast past $50 and aim for triple digits someday. This stuff really gets the community hyped, I have no doubt. However, and this is a rather big however, there's absolutely no guarantees of any of this is actually going to happen. Now, don't get me wrong, I am as optimistic about XRP as the next holder. I mean, I wouldn't be running an XRP price thought experiment at 3 a.m. if I didn't believe in this asset, right? But I'm also a bit of a realist, right? History has taught us that markets have a way of humbling us when they just, at least when things seem almost certain, right? XRP is fundamentally useful. Sure is, right? It's got a real use case in moving money across borders quickly and cheaply. Banks, remittance companies, even some governments have toyed with using it, right? That utility is why some people think that it could have the long-term staying power, and maybe why this whole digital silver nickname feels a bit apt, right? Because silver is useful, at least a useful industry, right? XRP is useful for transactions, right? And yet, usefulness alone doesn't guarantee a price, a massive price at all, at least not on any specific timeline. So, what would it take for XRP to reach those ultra lofty levels? Well, That's the trillion-dollar question, right? Because if silver needed a geopolitical breakthrough and a shift in economic policy to push it to a new high, then maybe XRP would also need its own perfect storm. Perhaps a combination of regulatory green lights, across major markets, I should say, huge partnerships, so think Fortune 500 companies or central banks adopting XRP, and a flood of new investors entering the crypto space all at once. It might take something like major banks around the world holding XRP in reserves, or even large companies using it for treasuries, which we've spoken about before, or maybe even banks using it for international settlements, every day or so. It might sound a little far-fetched, I know. Then again, 5 years ago, I wouldn't have predicted a court case giving XRP a 70% price jolt in a single day. Yet, here we are. Now, whilst I was chasing down this whole XRP and silver or versus silver scenario, I did stumble on something that kind of grabbed my attention. A little kind of subplot in my crypto adventure this week. Now, it's called Unity, and it's not directly about XRP's price, but it did catch my eye, and it might be of interest to some of you guys, especially if you're exploring new crypto projects for potential passive income that can actually pay you an XRP. Now, Unity nodes, which I'm running on these devices just over here, is basically a community project where regular people like us can participate in a decentralized mobile telecoms network using our mobile phones. The idea is kind of wild. Basically, you run the app on your phone. You can connect up to 200 different devices off of one Unity master node, if you really want to go all in, that is. And by doing that, you actually help create a decentralized mobile network for, I guess, assurances and quality checking, right? So imagine thousands of phones working together to do all of the quality checks, find out whether the signal strengths are good, if there's a dead spot, the call quality, all of these kind of verifiable kind of checks that the networks would do normally themselves, but they can crowdsource it and it saves them a whole ton. Now, in return for lending your devices idle power and time and connectivity, you actually earn some crypto rewards. And yes, one of the rewards options is XRP. So when I heard that, I was rather intrigued. Earning a little XRP by essentially just sharing some of my phone's connectivity to do these verifiable checks. Yeah, sign me up to learn some more. Now, Unity Node issues a limited number of these licenses in the form of NFTs that basically let you become one of those node operators. Now, it's kind of like buying a ticket to potentially earn passive income for helping run a network. Now, this project actually has some pretty real backing behind it. It's tied to World Mobile, a company already working on decentralized telecom solutions, that gives it a bit more credibility in my eyes, because it's not just a random anonymous project with no support. Now, I'm not going to lie, it is a high-risk, high-reward experiment at this stage. The Unity app isn't even live just yet, which means everything is still in the hopeful phase. It's kind of like getting in at a Kickstarter, right? You believe in the vision, but success is not guaranteed. In fact, I was so curious that I went ahead and I did purchase a Unity master node with the 200 licenses myself. Yeah, I took the plunge on it. Now, it wasn't cheap either, but I keep thinking about those early adopters who ran nodes or minted crypto and got a nice stream of passive income over time. Now, if this really does work as they say on their website, then I would love to be a part of it from the ground floor. So once their app goes live, I'm going to be running this little test right here on the desk with my own Unity licenses and a whole bunch of phones that I bought. Yes, I bought those 10 right there, right? I just want to see how money rewards actually do come on in. Now, I mentioned this not to derail our XRP story, but because it's actually a part of my journey this week, right? The same curiosity that had me calculating trillion-dollar market caps at 3 a.m. also had me exploring other ways to grow my crypto holdings. This was simply one of those. And who knows, maybe this Unity node thing will just be a footnote in my crypto diary, or maybe it becomes something so big It's just a little too early to really tell. So if you want to explore Unity like I did, and the whole kind of passive income idea for yourself, then you should probably definitely check out their light paper and their rewards calculator. As always, you should do your own research. I'm not here to hype it up. I'm just sharing that it kind of piqued my interest. There's a link in the description below if you're interested. All right, let's get back to our main storyline, right? Our beloved XRP and that shiny $50 silver comparison. So by this point in my late night rabbit hole, I had a couple of key takeaways. 1. XRP hitting $47 or $50 is not impossible, but it would require, the ETFs, in my opinion, to be kind of live. And 2, even if it never really hits that number, I'm still in this for the long haul because I see value in what XRP is actually trying to do. Okay, let's double back to the first point. Right, some of you might be wondering, dude, do you really need XRP to go to $50 for us all to be happy here? The short answer is no, of course not. Right, now, if you bought XRP early like I did, even $5 or $10 is potentially life-changing depending on how much you hold. And for those who kind of got into this more recently, just returning to the previous all-time high of around $3.86 or maybe even breaking into $5 in a kind of bull run would also be pretty amazing. So we don't need $50 for this to be, at least for this investment to really pay off. But it is a fun milestone to be thinking about because it would put XRP on the same pedestal as other major precious metals in terms of total value. It's also a bit of a thought experiment, right? What would the world look like if that actually happened? I mean, imagine that world for a second. XRP at $50 plus means that it's a top tier asset globally. Maybe it means that every bank is using it behind the scenes, or a ton of money has flowed in from both everyday investors and institutions. Perhaps even governments are holding XRP in their reserves by then too. The point is that an XRP that high would mean that it succeeded far beyond being just a cross-border payments token. It would mean mainstream recognition on a level of gold and silver. And it's a pretty cool vision, especially if you believe in crypto's potential to revolutionize finance. But as we kind of indulge in that daydream, I have to keep one thing in mind. And this is something that we often kind of chat about in our free educational Discord server. Quick plug, there is a link in the description. Now, you can come and join us. It's completely free. And we talk about stuff like this all of the time. Now, we remind ourselves that patience and caution are key. Crypto can make you feel like anything is possible tomorrow. One day you wake up and silver is at an all-time high. The next day, XRP might pump 40% on some big news. Then, a week later, everything could crash back down. Volatility is the name of the game. Having a community like our Discord helps keep me sane and grounded through all of these ups and downs. We have bounce crazy ideas off of each other, and we also poke holes in the wild theories. So if you're not in there yet, definitely hop on in. We share the knowledge, we keep it real talk, and yes, there's plenty of memes to lighten the mood during those nail-biting market swings. Now, speaking of caution, you'll notice throughout this story that I've been careful not to say that XRP will definitely do this, or that XRP will 100% reach X price. That's intentional. Right? I might be excited, but I'm not here to make any guarantees or to feed the clickbait certainties. I respect you all too much to sell fairy tales. Instead, what I am doing is this. What I always do, in fact, is share my honest journey, numbers and all of that. I gave you that wild $47.50 scenario not to claim that it is destiny, but because it's fascinating to explore what it would take. Now, it's perspective. It shows how enormous the leap would have to be, right? Which is both inspiring and a little bit of a reality check at the same time. Another thing that some of you might be thinking is, well, how do I maximize my XRP holdings if there's even a sliver of a chance that that kind of upside exists? Well, there are a couple of different approaches for that. Some people keep stacking XRP steadily, a strategy that we call dollar cost averaging, or buying fixed amounts on a regular schedule, regardless of the price. Others try swing trading, right, to increase their stack, though trading is risky if you're not experienced. Now, if you do trade, you might be useful to know some exchanges like Blowfin or BitGet. Full disclosure, of course, that those are affiliate links that are in the description, which means if you do sign up and trade through those links, it supports the channel here at no extra cost to yourself. So thank you in advance if you do that. Now, whatever method you use, you've got to be careful and to never trade or invest more than you can afford to lose, right? I've done a bit of both strategies, slowly accumulating where I can, and occasionally trading small kind of portions of my holdings on various different platforms. It can be useful, but I'm always mindful that chasing short-term gains can backfire. And then there's the more experimental stuff, like the Unity node project that I mentioned earlier, which could potentially earn me some extra XRP on the side if all goes well. That's a very unconventional route, sure, but it does show how I'm exploring different angles here. The core of my strategy is very much the same though. Hold and believe in XRP for the long run, and stay informed. So here's the moment all of this speculation and number crunching really kind of led me to. Right, picture me sitting in my bed, multiple tabs open, charts and articles everywhere, and I had this thought. Right, it's not just about if XRP can match silver's price or market cap. It's actually about why I got into XRP in the first place. This whole exercise made me zoom out for just a minute. Why do I hold XRP? Is it because I expect a magic $50 payout per coin? Or is it because I believe in the technology and the problem that it's trying to solve? Honestly, for me, it's a little bit of both, right? Of course, I want the number to go up. Who doesn't like gains? But I do also genuinely think XRP is doing something rather important by making global money transfers faster and cheaper. Now that is a mission that I can get behind because it could benefit a whole lot of people around the world. Reflecting on silver's big moment, I saw a parallel. Silver took years, decades really, to kind of break that record. People held silver through long stretches where nothing exciting happened price-wise. Then, when conditions were just right, it popped off like a rocket. XRP's story might turn out to be similar. Now, there could be long periods where not much happens with the price. Then suddenly, the right catalysts line up. Maybe a major country officially adopts XRP for remittances. Maybe a stock market downturn pushes investors into crypto. Or maybe another coin stumbles and XRP shines in comparison. And boom, right, we get that explosive move that we've been waiting for. Right? We actually saw a hint of this when XRP passed $3 this summer, just after that legal clarity news. Right? It was a bit of a validation for that, yes. When the stars align, XRP can move and move pretty fast. Now, I realize that I need to be prepared and patient for whenever those stars might align again. In the meantime, I can't just sit around and only daydreaming about the moonshots. I want to keep on learning. I want to grow my positions responsibly, and I want to share these insights and stories with all of you guys so that we can all navigate this journey together. Ultimately, comparing XRP to silver turned out to be more than just a bit of a fun math problem. It was both a reality check and a bit of a motivator. The reality check is that sure, $87 XRP would be pretty incredible, but it would require a pretty decent amount of market conditions to align. Right? The motivator is that even if it sounds a bit like a long shot, simply imagining it pushed me to refocus and stay committed to the goals. Whether that means holding my XRP with conviction, doing even deeper research, or trying things like running a Unity node, or engaging more with the community, it all helped me work towards that future that I'm actually hoping for. Now, I'm also coming away from this whole set with a whole sense of kind of gratitude, right? Seriously, I'm grateful to be part of the XRP community during times like these. We get to speculate, we get to debate, we get to dream, and sometimes even witness our dreams inch closer to reality. Silver hitting $50 reminds me that markets can surprise us when we least expect it. It reignited my optimism. If silver can reach new highs after all this time, then maybe XRP's turn will come too. Perhaps on a day when most of us least expect it. probably when half of us are actually asleep, if crypto's typical behavior holds true. And when that day does come, you're definitely going to find me in the Discord doing absolutely bonkers or going absolutely bonkers alongside everyone else who's been on this ride with me. So if you've enjoyed coming along on this little adventure with me, you can do me a favor. Smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and join our community, right? You don't want to miss what is coming next in this wild crypto journey. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.